Because continuing requires endurance. Endurance is built when you stop expecting quick results, when you stop measuring progress daily, when you stop quitting because you're not seeing immediate change. Real progress is subtle. You won't notice it day to day. But one day, you'll look back and realize you react differently, you think differently, you move differently, and that change didn't happen overnight. It happened through hundreds of quiet decisions, through effort no one applauded, through discipline no one celebrated. That's the work that doesn't trend, the work that doesn't go viral, the work that doesn't get noticed, but it compounds, and compounding is powerful. Tiny improvements, repeated daily, create massive transformation over time. That's why consistency beats intensity. Intensity is exciting, but short-lived. Consistency is boring, but unstoppable. Boring routines build extraordinary lives, waking up early, training regularly, reading daily, planning ahead, showing up on time. Motivation talks. None of it is glamorous, but all of it works. And when no one is watching, that's when these habits matter most. Because habits are identity in motion. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits don't care who's watching. They operate automatically. That's why your private habits shape your public outcomes. If you're lazy in private, it shows in public. If you're disciplined in private, it shows in public. There's no escaping it. Life exposes patterns. Sooner or later, everything comes to light. The question is, what will be revealed? Potential that was never used, or capability that was quietly built. Regret is expensive. It shows up later, when change feels harder, when time feels shorter, when opportunities feel fewer. Discipline, on the other hand, costs now. It demands effort today, sacrifice today, discomfort today, but it pays later with options, with confidence, with freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is having the ability to do what matters. And that ability is built, not wished for. Built through structure, built through routine, built through standards. Standards that don't depend on mood. Standards that don't depend on audience. Standards you follow when it would be easier not to. That's leadership. Leadership over yourself. Before you lead anything else, your career, your family, your future, you must lead yourself. And self-leadership is quiet. No one claps when you go to bed on time. No one congratulates you for saying no to distraction. No one praises you for choosing effort over comfort. But those choices matter. They stack. They compound. They transform. And one day, people will notice the results. They'll call it talent. They'll call it luck. They'll call it overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You'll know about the nights you stayed disciplined, the mornings you showed up tired, the weekends you stayed focused. You'll know what it took. And that knowledge gives you something no one can take from you: self-respect. Because when no one was watching, you didn't quit. You didn't cut corners. You didn't betray your standards. You showed up. And that's how real confidence is built. Not through praise, not through validation, not through comparison, but through quiet consistency. So if right now you feel unnoticed, good. If your effort feels invisible, good. If it feels lonely, good. You're in the right place. This is where foundations are laid. This is where strength is built. This is where futures are decided. Don't rush this phase. Don't escape it. Don't avoid it. Embrace it. Because when no one is watching, you are becoming. And when the time comes, the world will see what was built in silence. Nobody talks about what happens when no one is watching, when the lights are off, when the crowd is gone, when there's no applause, no recognition, no validation. But that's where everything is decided. Because who you are in silence is who you really are. And what you do when no one is watching determines who you become when everyone is. Most people want the moment. They want the win, they want the highlight, but they avoid the hours that create it. They avoid the early mornings, the lonely nights, the boring repetition, the work that feels invisible. And invisible work is uncomfortable. It messes with your mind. It makes you question your direction. It makes you wonder if it's even worth it, because progress without recognition feels like failure to an untrained mind. But this is the truth. Greatness is built in private, long before it's revealed in public. Every strong mind you admire was shaped in silence. Every disciplined person you respect learned to show up without being asked. Every successful individual you see today spent years doing things that no one cared about. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Discipline doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post updates. It doesn't wait for permission. Discipline happens quietly. It happens when you get up even though you're tired. When you train even though motivation is gone. When you say no even though temptation is loud. Motivation is loud. Discipline is silent. Motivation talks. Discipline acts. And when no one is watching, discipline reveals its true strength. Because it's easy to perform when people are cheering. It's easy to push when someone is counting your reps. It's easy to stay focused when someone is holding you accountable. But what about when no one is there? What about when you're alone with your thoughts? When shortcuts are available? When excuses feel justified? That's the real test. Your future isn't shaped by what you do occasionally. It's shaped by what you do consistently, especially when no one is watching. This is where most people compromise. They cut corners. They delay effort. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year, and one day they wake up wondering why nothing changed, because every small compromise felt harmless, but compounded over time, it became costly. You don't fall behind all at once. You drift, one skipped effort, one ignored responsibility, one excuse at a time. And drifting feels comfortable until you look back and realize how far you've gone from who you wanted to be. That's why standards matter, not public standards, personal ones. The rules you follow when no one is enforcing them. The promises you keep when no one is checking. That's integrity. Integrity is not about being perfect. It's about being honest with yourself, honest about your effort, honest about your discipline, honest about your excuses. Because excuses are convincing, they sound logical, they sound reasonable, they sound earned. I'm tired. I've had a long day. I deserve a break. I'll do it tomorrow. And sometimes, rest is necessary. But most people aren't tired. They're undisciplined. They're mentally exhausted from negotiating with themselves all day. From deciding whether or not to do what they already know needs to be done. Decision fatigue kills progress. That's why disciplined people remove choice. They don't ask, should I? They ask, what's required? And then they do it. No drama, no debate, no emotional negotiation, because emotions are unreliable. You will not always feel like showing up. You will not always feel confident. You will not always feel ready. Waiting to feel ready is waiting forever. Readiness comes after action, not before. Confidence is built through proof, and proof is built through repetition. Repetition done quietly, repeated effort done consistently, effort done when no one is watching. That's how belief is formed. You don't suddenly believe in yourself. You earn it by keeping commitments to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's inconvenient, you strengthen trust with yourself. And self-trust is powerful. It creates calm under pressure. It creates stability in chaos. It creates confidence without arrogance. Because you're no longer hoping you'll show up. You know you will. That knowledge is rare. Most people don't trust themselves. They've broken too many promises to themselves. They've quit too many times. They've delayed too often. They've negotiated away too much potential. And deep down they know it. That's why silence is uncomfortable. Because when no one is watching, you can't hide. There's no performance, no image to maintain, just you and your standards. This is where growth either accelerates or dies. Growth requires solitude, time alone with discomfort, time alone with effort, time alone with repetition. You don't grow by consuming endlessly. You grow by applying consistently. Knowledge without action is entertainment. Action without recognition is growth. And growth doesn't need validation. It needs patience. Patience to keep going when progress feels slow. Patience to trust the process when results are delayed. Patience to understand that real change takes time. Everything meaningful takes time. Strength takes time. Skill takes time. Character takes time, and time tests commitment. Anyone can start. Very few continue.